Colonel Sanders. He was the founder of KFC. He was born in Henryville, Indiana, United States on September 9, 1890. His father's name was Wilbur David, and mother's name was Margaret Ann Sanders. Harlan was only 5 when his father died of hay fever. His mother began to work in a tomato canning factory. After his mother remarried in 1902, his family relocated to Greenwood, Indiana. Unable to get along with his stepfather, he left home and school to work as a farmhand and horse carriage painter. In 1906, with his mother's permission, he left Greenwood for New Albany, Indiana, where his uncle, an employee of a streetcar company, lived. At the age of 18, he got married to Josephine King, but separated after 2 years. They had 3 children. At the age of 22, he joined the United States Army in 1906. He was discharged 3 months later. From 1907 to 1920, he moved from one job to another. He worked as a blacksmith's help, fireman, lawyer, insurance salesman and laborer. In 1920, he established a ferry boat company, operated a ferry boat in Ohio, and became the company's minority shareholder. He was appointed as secretary of the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, but resigned. He cashed his share to finding an acetylene lamp manufacturing company that flopped. In 1930, he began operating a service station for the Shell Oil Company in Corbin, Kentucky. He began to cook and serve chicken, ham, and steaks to his customers in his living quarters nearby. By 1935, the Corbin service station became famous for his Kentucky Fried Chicken, which he prepared using 11 secret spices. The governor of Kentucky loved his fried chicken so much that he rewarded Harlan with colonel designation. Due to construction of a highway, he had to close his restaurant as per the government's order. Then he joined in a cafe from where he got only $105 at the time of his retirement. The amount was too little that he was mentally completely broken down and attempted to suicide for several times. But he didn't lose hope and went with his unique recipe and a pressure cooker to do marketing of his unique recipe. He visited different restaurants, but everyone rejected him. He rejected around 1,009 times. At length one owner agreed. In 1939, he bought a motel in Asheville, North Carolina. During World War II, gas was rationed, and as the number of customers dwindled, so he closed the motel. He worked as a restaurant supervisor in Seattle until the end of 1942. He next operated government cafeterias at an ordnance works and was an assistant manager at a cafeteria in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. In 1947, he divorced Josephine and 2 years later married his secretary Claudia Lettington. In 1952, Pete Harman became the first franchisee of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Harman operated South Salt Lake City's largest restaurants. Don Anderson, a sign painter hired by Harman, coined the name Kentucky Fried Chicken. In 1955, customer traffic in his Corbin restaurant fell due to the opening of the new Interstate 75. He sold the restaurant and traveled the country to appoint franchisees for his chicken. Appointing franchisees was a good strategy. KFC became a pioneer food chain to expand internationally. Today KFC, or Kentucky Fried Chicken, is on more than 118 different countries all over. By the mid-1960s, apart from its 600 American outlets, it boasted of outlets in Canada, England, Mexico, and Jamaica. In 1964, he sold the Kentucky Fried Chicken Corporation for $2 million to John Y. Brown Jr. He retained the Canadian operations and moved to Mississauga, Ontario. In 1973, he sued the Hugh Blaine Incorporated, which owned Kentucky Fried Chicken then, for using his image to sell products he had nothing to do with. Later, an agreement was reached between the two parties. Sanders continued to visit the KFC restaurants around the world as a spokesman in his later years. He died in Louisville, Kentucky, United States on December 16, 1980, at the age of 90. "I think a dream is just a suggestion to start something out, do something," said Colonel Sanders.